What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the House is Fake podcast. You know,
Don't mind us. We're just
we need to
laughing.
create like a Patreon with a tier called Friend of the Podcast, and then you can listen to all the stuff that we don't take out of the show.
Oh, that would be
All the
good.
stuff that would get us canceled.
Yeah, that'd be good. And maybe I could like do cute poses and stuff like that too in photos for the fans
Just
that want to see it.
He's gonna dress up like I don't know, Fabulous Moolah. Take
Yeah,
some pictures for us.
full on Shawn Michaels winning the title style pictures.
Oh yeah. Get a real taste of Miggy's mindset. Hey. All right, everyone. Well, today we're doing something that we don't do a whole lot of, and that is top 10 lists. Today we have the top 10 swerves of all time. Now, I was thinking about this because I was doing my research, and I kind of was like, what is a swerve? Because a heel turn could be called a swerve, but how come not every heel turn is called a swerve? You know what I'm saying?
I I am
So I
going to describe it as something that the fans expected to happen that never ended up happening, that didn't end up happening the way they thought it would. So I guess the perfect example, and I don't know if you have it on your list or not, but
we'll see.
not many people expected John Cena to turn heel. They
That is
expected
on my
Cody
list.
to, and they got a swerve. I kept that one off of my list.
Okay.
Um, so sorry I ruined one of your list things.
No. That's
But
all right.
that so something that the fans expected to happen that were pleasantly surprised and or shocked happened another way.
There you go. Definitions here on House is Fake. Let's get into it. I'm going to pull my list up. These are no particular order, by the way. I have a little tiny description about each one. And some of these I kind of thought of on my own, and I wrote little reasons, like I just said, why they're on here. So let's see. I'm going to start off with we kind of just talked about it, the John Cena heel turn. Um, it was a swerve in the sense that after how many years he's finally a bad guy, and I mean, we were all glad it happened. It was a really good moment, and uh, it still has yet to be resolved, obviously. But I think in recent memory, that's probably like the best example of a heel turn. So that's on my list. And then I have The Rock slapping Cody at the press conference WrestleMania 40. The reason I say that's a swerve is because up until that press conference, when The Rock slapped Cody and Cody said this is bullshit, we all thought it was going to be Roman and Rock because that's what
A good example.
they pretty much said it was. Cody and Seth were going to have another match.
Yep.
And we all knew the press conference, like something was going to happen. It was kind of like a Daniel Bryan thing where like the crowd just, or the fans just wanted something so much they couldn't ignore it. But when The Rock slapped Cody and you realize that The Rock and Roman were going to team now, I don't think anyone saw that coming. So I have that. I mean, arguably the best build to one of the best WrestleManias, if not the best WrestleMania of all time. How could that not be on my list? So I put that up there.
That's a good point. I if we let's keep to the tune of The Rock and swerves that The Rock had. WrestleMania 27 was when The Rock was the host. Correct me if I'm wrong. And the main event
I think you're right.
was John Cena versus The Miz.
Mm-hmm.
When I don't know, to this day I will still die on the hill that The Miz is one of the best and most perfect champions in the history of WWE and should have had many more title runs than the two that he got. But um everybody expected John Cena to beat The Miz that night. Everybody did because John Cena was back. You know, it was going to lead to him being like the big face of the company again, and ultimately it was unknown if it would have led to a match with The Rock in the future because they did have back and forth things on the mic. What I was not expecting to happen, the swerve that threw me, was The Rock coming out and costing Xena the match for The Miz to win at WrestleMania.
All right. So The Rock screwing the top guy again.
Yep,
Huh. Sounds like Dwayne's got some issues with guys on top.
it does.
I'm gonna clip that one. Okay. Alrighty. I like how we're kind of doing these recent ones because well, I mean, we're gonna dig back into the past, but I got
Yeah.
one that's pretty recent as well that has to do with part of the Samoan dynasty.
Okay.
Arguably, now I just mentioned the biggest swerve or the a swerve on the biggest road to WrestleMania when Rock slapped Cody. But the biggest story of the last, what, 10, 15 years is the Bloodline story.
Mm-hmm.
That started the night that Roman Reigns was sitting on the couch with Paul Heyman.
Yep.
And when the camera zoomed out and you see Paul sitting there and he says, believe that, and Roman said, that's not a prediction, that's a spoiler. Holy shit. And the reason why it was so significant for all the people who might not get it, Paul Heyman was very familiar with Roman Reigns because outside of Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar was Roman Reigns' biggest like obstacle always.
Mm-hmm.
And Seth was kind of like not Seth was IC title, US title, he was feuding with Mox a lot. They put Roman with Brock in what? 3 or 4 WrestleManias together. So
Yeah, at least three.
31, 34. I know there's another one. Anyways, but you
One
get
of
the
them was
point
at
I'm saying.
SummerSlam.
Yeah, because that's when was that Lesnar who got the forklift or the tractor
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah. So so anyways, that was a huge swerve. I don't think anyone saw it coming, and it was the foundation for the biggest story in wrestling for I mean modern wrestling history, I think.
Yep. Well, second to that, if we're talking about the Shield guys, one of them I have on my list, and again, my list is in no particular order because I was equally as shocked with all of them. Um, Seth Rollins when he turned on the Shield, I was not expecting Seth. So now I was expecting the Shield to break up, and I think about this often. Where would Seth Rollins be if it wasn't Seth Rollins versus? I thought Dean Ambrose would have been the one to end the Shield and a turn, because it fit his character a little bit better. So the fact that it was Seth Rollins and the fact that it happened when it did threw me for a complete loop. Seth Rollins turning on the Shield was a big swerve in my mind.
That also made my list. I mean, that's how we got the three of the. Would you say that Seth Roman and Moxley today are within like the top 10 most popular wrestlers?
Oh, without a doubt.
I mean,
I would say
and
not only within the top 10 most popular wrestlers today, probably within the top 5 most successful wrestlers of the day, even with Mox being in AEW. I mean,
well,
he's the
but
AEW
Moxley's
champion.
been ever since Mox debuted in AEW, he's been a main event guy. Now he might have gotten hurt or
Yeah.
taken time off, but he's never been stuck in the mid card. He's never
No,
I don't want to say he's
he's the
not
face of
putting new people
AEW.
over, but yeah, and he was what when was it after the CM Punk drama and Mox came out on like the next Dynamite and he cut a babyface promo about how we
Yeah.
needed to cut the bullshit. It was one of the best wrestling promos like of all time. If you
Agreed.
guys want to go hear a babyface cut a killer promo, believe it or not, John Moxley could he fucking knocked it out of the park. But no, dude, I mean that was a huge swerve and if that never happened, where would we be without all three of those guys doing, what they're doing?
Yeah.
Who knows? So that
I mean, two of them just main evented WrestleMania, and the other one's gonna main event Double or Nothing AEW's WrestleMania.
and
So
they still play on the chair shot at
yeah,
WrestleMania. They did it
uh-huh.
again. BFD. All right. Well, these transitions are just natural. I have as a swerve on here. I don't really remember storyline wise why it was a big swerve, just the fact that it happened the way that it did. But Becky Lynch returning and squashing Bianca Belair in like 20 seconds
Ooh, that's a good
for the
one.
championship. I think it was at
That is a
SummerSlam
good one. Yep.
in Cleveland, I think.
I don't know where it was, but I do remember it. Yeah, that is a that's a good one. I didn't even think of that one.
And thank God that didn't destroy Bianca because Bianca's still, just as good as ever and just as, the fans still like her as much as they do. But that could, I mean, anybody else, I don't know if they would have survived something like that.
Yeah.
No, that was a big swerve to me,
Well,
especially because
keeping
Becky Lynch compared to Bianca is like a twig.
yeah.
Just saying.
Well, keeping with the theme of Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, another swerve that I had on here, lower tier on the list, was when Triple H decided to turn on Seth Rollins in the Universal Championship match after Finn Balor got hurt and won the first Universal Championship match. They had like a fatal four way.
Yep.
Um, Seth, it looked like Seth Rollins was going to win it. Triple H came out and basically made it seem like he was going to help Seth Rollins win it. And then he gave the pedigree to Seth Rollins, helping Kevin Owens win his first championship in the WWE. Or at least on the main card, he was the NXT champion for a while. But um, yeah, I remember not expecting that to happen at all and being pleasantly
Yeah.
surprised.
One little, this is like me just being picky. Uh, One of my favorite things about that whole moment you're talking about where Triple H pedigree Seth is selling the pedigree while
Oh, so
Triple
well.
H is standing there. So
Mm-hmm.
Triple H has got his arms up and he's staring at Kevin Owens like, I'm giving you your shot, dude. And Seth is like wiggling around. I hate when wrestlers are doing backflips and kicks and they're sliding and they're going real fast. And this happens a lot with power bombs and shit too. And the second they're under somebody's legs, they just stop moving. Like if they were in a real fight, they'd be like, "Well, fuck." Like no, try to get out of it. You're about to, get demolished. Do what Seth did and try to at least show like you give a shit that you don't want this to happen to you.
Yep.
So, anyways, uh, yeah, that was a dude. How ugly was the red universal belt? I hated that.
Yeah.
Okay. Dude, Seth Rollins is on this list so much because I have on this list, I wrote, one of my notes was the icing on the cake that was WrestleMania 31, Seth Rollins cashing in his
Ooh.
money in the bank, defeating Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar because he didn't wait until the match was over to go get the weak guy. He was like, no, this is a triple threat. And the match, the after he cashed in, it lasted just long enough to where it was a little bit nail biting. He didn't know if he was going to win or lose. But man, Seth Rollins, dude, this is the Seth Rollins episode. Who knew that Seth was like the king of swerves? But that's what I got.
Um, all right, so I'm gonna do one more recent one tied together with a lot of the same people we've been tied, at least with Brock Lesnar, and then my list jumps around all over the place.
Mine too.
But um, I will never forget where I was, what I was doing, and how I felt when The Undertaker lost to Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania because I never would
Yeah.
have thought that The Undertaker was going to lose at WrestleMania ever. It was almost a guarantee. So the fact that The Undertaker lost in that match I honestly I thought something was wrong. I thought like the Undertaker must have like really been like I know he was like concussed or something like that, but I thought that there was like a bigger issue there. We were never going to see the Undertaker again, and I was so shook by that swerve of expecting the Undertaker to win and having him lose. Brock Lesnar, WrestleMania 30,
Yep.
beating the Undertaker was a swerve for me.
Huge swerve. Biggest swerve maybe in WrestleMania history.
Yeah.
Like in terms of something that happened in the middle of a match. Um or like the result of a match. Um yeah. I mean, I would have been happy if we never saw the Undertaker again. Like if he
Yep.
went into the Hall of Fame the next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I have always, as shocking as it was and as disappointed as people were, I always thought it was the right decision. And maybe not WrestleMania 30, but I think Brock Lesnar was the guy to do it, or at least someone who was being booked like Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you remember, but at that time everyone was complaining about part timers, and Brock Lesnar shows up 12 days a year, but he's the champion. And knowing that Brock beat the Undertaker meant that he was like the guy now, and if you wanted to take yourself to the next level, you had to beat him, i.e., Seth Rollins, Roman
Yep.
Reigns, insert name here. So nice. No, that's a killer pick.
Thank you.
I'm
Uh,
going to. Oh, what were you gonna say?
no, yeah, no, yeah. Well, I was just thinking. I don't have anything else to add to that. It was good.
Well,
I'm proud of it.
speaking of Lesnar, I'm gonna throw him up here again. I will never forget where I was or what I was doing or how I felt when Goldberg came back to Survivor Series and squashed Brock Lesnar in a championship match.
Ooh, that's a good one. Wasn't
And
expecting
I
that.
loved it.
Was
I
not expecting
loved
that.
it. I
I
knew it
did
was going to
too,
be a quick
actually.
match, but I didn't know it was going to be like that. And Paul Heyman, there's a video, he was doing interviews somewhere and he explained like the decision. And it made when he explained it, I was like, yeah, that was the best thing you could have done is have Goldberg just come in and two spears, jackhammer. That's it.
Yeah. Well, having and given all of the drama that was their WrestleMania 20 match, it was a good way to go about it, especially to set up something with them again in the future.
Yeah. Unfortunately, and I love Goldberg. I think he gets way too much hate from like the wrestling purists. But
And Bret Hart.
yeah, yeah. Bret Hart I view as like the head on the snake of the wrestling purists to an extent. But I think that was his last. If you, I don't want to say it wasn't a match because it was, but like I said, it was two spears and a jackhammer. I think
Yeah.
that was Goldberg's last good match. All of the ones that happened
Fair.
after that, all the WrestleManias, the Royal Rumbles, they are not looked back on with reverence.
Yeah, that's a fair statement, I would say.
So it's unfortunate, but the moment itself was a huge swerve. No one saw it happening that way, at least.
Yeah.
All right, buddy, what do you got?
I like it. All right, so for my fifth one, and tell me if this counts as a swerve, because I think it should. Um, WrestleMania 33. I lied. I do have one more recent one. WrestleMania 33, we thought we were going to get a triple threat ladder match between Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, Cesaro and Sheamus, and our boy Enzo and Big Cass until the New Day came out and said, actually, it's a fatal four-way ladder match in one of the greatest returns in WWE history. The Hardys came out, did the whole dance, the whole 9 yards. Um, Also, side note, for anybody listening, if you haven't gone and watched Jeff Hardy as Willow dancing to Not Like Us in the latest episode of TNA, go and do that. But yeah, Hardy's returning WrestleMania 33 to the big shock, the huge pop, one of the best pops of all time. I was shook. I cried. Amazing.
I would say so. You started off by asking me if this was a swerve or not.
Yeah.
I thought about putting this on my list because of the reaction.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a swerve.
All right. That's fair.
I think it's a return because it didn't stop there. That was just a way of welcoming them back.
That's a good point. So, in that note, I will throw in an honorable mention when we get closer to the end.
If you wanted to be on your list, you just asked me, and that was I like I said I was gonna put it on my list, but then I thought about it, and I was like, oh, I don't know.
Let's see how many we get through.
They did end up winning that match though,
They
so
did win that match.
having new champions that no one even knew was on the card is a pretty big swerve.
To
So
be fair, that one was not on my list until we started talking and I started thinking.
nice.
So, all
Well, I got three more here.
right.
I'm gonna knock this one out of the way because I feel like I talk about it too much. Hulk Hogan being the third man.
Yep.
I
Nobody
mean,
expected that.
no. And Kevin Nash had said before that if it wasn't going to be Hogan, because during the event, they went out to the ring to have this tag match, and their third man didn't come out with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. He was going to show up at the end. While they went out to start the match, they did not know if Hogan was going to commit to doing it. And if it wasn't, it was going to be Sting, who was already out there. And that would not have worked because the whole point of the NWO is it was WWF guys coming over to take over.
Yep.
And Hogan was the WWF. And
But
so
pro
this
wrestling.
was,
I mean, everything.
yeah. So this
And
was
then,
like, this would be like John Cena going over to AEW right now and teaming up with Mox and insert and Edge.
insert
If they,
more than half of the AEW roster.
yeah, that is the equivalent of what happened.
Yeah.
So big deal. And like I said, I talk about the NWO too much. I probably overstate how important the NWO was from time to time.
Well, let's talk about the NWO when it comes to swerves then, because one of the masterminds behind it, your friend Eric Bischoff,
It's true. We're
had a
buddies.
surprising swerve for me when Vince McMahon was announcing how Raw was going to get a new general manager, and his biggest enemy of all time in real life. Like there was
Yep.
real life drama, real life heat between the two gentlemen. Vince McMahon hires Eric Bischoff and brings him in and did not tell even any of the wrestlers that were on like the part where there's the famous clip of Eric Bischoff walking past Booker T and Booker T being like, "Tell me I didn't just see that." The wrestlers had no idea even. They were swerved by that fact.
The
That
commentators didn't know either.
no, they told Booker T right before he did the thing, "Hey, something crazy is gonna happen. Just react." And he had no idea that was a pure raw reaction, no pun intended. Um, with Eric Bischoff becoming to, I got chills. I got chills thinking about it.
So I just compared the NWO like it would be like John Cena teaming up with Edge and Mox over in
Yeah,
AEW. This would be like if Triple H hired Tony Khan to come be Nick Aldis.
yeah.
That's what that was.
Or
Phenomenal.
even I would even go as far as saying Tony Khan hiring Vince McMahon.
That would be better.
Um, because Vince McMahon has beat AEW in the ratings over and over and over again, and I don't know. Who knows? Maybe AEW
Did
will take it
Triple
one of these
H
days.
did the black and gold NXT when Triple H no, NXT hadn't
NXT never beat
they
AEW.
never did until Vince took it over.
Yeah.
Interesting. But now that Triple H
Um.
is in charge of not NXT,
Yeah.
it's okay.
It's also
Interesting.
impossible to be able to afford wrestling tickets ever again, but
That's true. Yeah, thanks a
that's an
lot.
issue. That's an issue for another episode. Your turn, buddy.
I got two more.
All right.
And we just brought up Daddy Vince. Big swerve, terrible payoff, but Vince McMahon is the higher power.
Ooh, that's a good one.
The only
That is a
reason I
good
even
one.
put it on this list is because it's a great moment. It's a like one of the best Vince memes of. I don't know of a single person who is memed better and more often than Vince McMahon. I feel like a lot of people probably just know Vince because of the memes that they see. They have no idea who he is.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point. It was lots of legendary attitude era moments happened within the ministry and the corporate ministry and stuff.
Hmm.
And this was like the climax of all of that, and it was pretty it didn't make sense like if you I was researching it this morning, and if you read it like a book, it does not make any sense at all.
No,
But no one saw it. That's why no one saw it coming, because it wouldn't have made any sense. But it was a big deal for the Attitude Era, so I had to put that up there.
I like it. I'm gonna jump over to TNA for a minute.
Do it.
So, arguably, TNA's best storyline in my mind was Aces and Eights.
I almost put this on
Um,
my list.
what?
I almost put this on my list.
You almost put on your list? Yeah, so Aces and Eights, and they were basically taking. They were a biker gang of masked vigilantes taking over TNA. And this is a two-parter because their main um the main hero in this story, the main guy that was trying to stop TNA was trying to stop the Aces and Eights at the beginning was Bully Ray. And over again, he would basically be taken out by Aces and Eights. He teamed with Hogan to try to take them down. And it was even revealed that Devon was one of the higher ranking members of this biker gang. And I remember being there live. I think that might have been the only TNA show I've ever really been to. And being completely shocked that Devon was part of Aces and Eights, just to find out that Bully Ray was in charge of Aces and Eights the whole entire time. Sparking Bully's amazing, like, only elevating Bully in his amazing singles career that he's had, on top of everything he did in the tag team. Complete perfect swerve. Was not expecting Bully Ray to be in charge of Aces and Eights. I loved every second of it.
Hell yeah. Uncle Bully, friend of the podcast.
Yep.
Alrighty, I got one more on my list.
All right, then I'll rapid fire through mine.
This one I left for last because it was, I guess that's just how it happened, but I feel like it's kind of obvious. Mark Henry faking
Retirement.
his
That's on
retirement.
mine. Yep.
I mean, if you want to know what a swerve is and not listen to our definition, just go look at this segment. Um, I think this is probably the most popular thing Mark Henry has done.
Easily.
Like if he goes down being remembered for one thing among his many accomplishments, it's going to be his fake retirement.
Yep.
And Cena coming out gave it credibility. I mean, he obviously needed to come out so he could slam John Cena, and then they could kick off, their thing. But John Cena coming out with the title and him holding it up, just, I mean, anyways, what
I
am I
love it.
going to say about it that hasn't been said?
Yeah, but I mean, it was a perfect swerve. I love it, buddy. It was on my list. So let me rapid
Hell yeah,
fire through a couple of other ones.
go for it.
Um, Hornswoggle being revealed as Vince McMahon's son when everybody thought it would have been Triple H, because it would have made sense for it to be Triple H in a storyline, because Triple H was also his son-in-law, which would have caused a lot of crazy issues in their
Oh,
family.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah. But speaking of Triple H being his son-in-law, another swerve that happened was when Triple H not only married Stephanie McMahon with without her will and consent, supposedly,
Different time.
but when Stephanie McMahon ends up turning on Vince and joining her husband and falling in love with her husband and becomes Stephanie McMahon Helmsley. completely shook at my little 8-year-old brain when I was watching that. And to top that off, a couple of years down the line, the WWE ends up buying WCW, which had a bunch of swerves in it itself. One of them was when they had the big, well, one of the biggest one was Shane McMahon actually being the one to buy WCW and
Right.
not Vince McMahon, right? That's an obvious one there. But another one was Stone Cold joining WCW, the team WCW, and being like the head opposition for the WWE guys, which was like, and being a heel, and that just wasn't, I wasn't really expecting that one at all. Yeah, but other than that, you could throw in David Arquette winning the WCW title. You could throw in Shawn Michaels joining the NWO. You could throw in Rikishi being the one to hit The Rock with the car. You could throw in
I did it for The Rock.
yeah, you could throw in Otis winning the Money in the Bank championship match.
I
Or Money in the
forgot
Bank
that even
championship.
happened.
Money in the Bank. And then ended up losing it. You could throw in
How about Hornswoggle
um
being the GM of Raw?
yeah. You could throw in, oh, you want to know my favorite one, and we could end it on this?
Yeah, sure.
CM Punk winning the WWE Championship and leaving WWE. Because you really had no idea it, but I honestly, as a fan, had no idea if knowing CM Punk's history and how great he was on the independents, if he really was leaving WWE. Um,
That would be a
Especially
cool
since he
thing.
was so online talking about how he really was leaving WWE and how he was going to go back to the independents, showing up at independent wrestling shows with the championship.
That would be a cool thing for, like, okay, so we've talked about how this John Cena heel turn is looking a lot better than it tastes, right?
Yeah.
So if Cody turned heel, right, and became Homelander Cody, and then he said after he beat John Cena he was going to leave or whatever and take the title with him, then you get Cody, the WWE champ, having like a match on AEW again. And it starts and then that's how you announce the AAA partnership or start that. It doesn't look like a partnership, but Cody goes down there and wrestles, and you're like, fuck, he actually like left.
Yeah.
And anyway, I know that's not gonna. I'm just fantasy,
In a perfect
fantasy
world.
brain.
So let's do something new that we were talking about doing, and we
All
could
right,
clip this.
we got about 4 minutes.
Here is my question of the episode for the social media listeners out there.
Is this
What do
Miggy's
you
question of the day?
This is Miggy's question of the day. The How Is This
All
Fake
right.
podcast question of the day goes to this. What do you think is the biggest swerve in professional wrestling history? Let us know in the comments of whatever social media platform you're listening to us on or listening to this clip on. We want to know from the How Is This Fake podcast friends. How is this fake friends of the podcast? I don't know why that was so jumbled. What do you think is the biggest swerve in professional wrestling history?
I like it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was our list of the best swerves ever. I wish Chris Jericho
Ever.
did that more often.
Forever.
Never.
Ever.
Yeah. You heard Miggy. Answer the question of the day in the comments. Follow us at HITFPOD, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, blah, 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 blah. Don't stop, make it. Okay, go check out our Vegas vlog. Go check out all our other shorts. Subscribe, follow us. Follow Dream Slam Wrestling. We are the Fish Podcast, and we will see you later.
Later.